Straight ahead on the national desk, education rebuke. America's public schools receiving a failing grade with parents and states critical to President Biden's reelection.
NEA, we have to win all the things, all the things, all the things. Our colleagues are depending on us to win all the things. Keep going, NEA. To preserve our democracy, we must win all the things.
The president of the largest teachers union facing some backlash after this speech to the union in Philadelphia, where critics say she went off the rails in a desperate attempt to showcase how educators want to control the minds of America's children. Now, some of those same critics say the teachers union should be focused on winning a passing grade for America's education system, especially with parents. A new poll shows the majority of Black and Latino swing state voters believe public schools are failing their kids. Joining us now to discuss this and more is Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Good morning to you, Erika, and great to see you here on the National Desk on this Friday. And we're going to talk about that momentarily here, because she said they got to stay on track. We got to win all the things. And we're going to talk about some of what critics are saying this morning. Education is the bedrock for all communities, but it is especially important in minority neighborhoods, where this new poll from the Freedom Coalition for Charter Schools also shows what is driving some voters to the polls this November. Which swing state voters were surveyed, and what did parents say?
Okay, and I wrote down the list to be sure I don't miss any. So the states are Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, and North Carolina. And the Black and Hispanic parents in those states indicated several things. As you mentioned, they did agree that their schools were failing. A majority said that. They also said that they need more options, so they're asking for more school choice, as it's known. And they also indicated that they feel like lawmakers are not listening to parents about how bad things are in their kids' schools, and also about their need for options.
When asked about the rate of quality of the public schools, specifically in their neighborhoods, like you mentioned, a vast majority, in fact, 66%, when I looked at the poll, 66% said they were failing Black and Latino children. This is from Black and Latino parents. Only 33% actually labeled them as good. How has this empowered the push for school choice everywhere?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Black and Hispanic parents have been taken for granted, as you know, by the Democratic Party for decades. But what they have also been showing for decades is their overwhelming support for having more options for school choice. Over 70% of Black and Hispanic voters have said for many years that they support having more options and not being consigned to schools based on your residential address. Interestingly, the lowest amount of support we see for school choice comes from people who describe themselves as progressives, and they also happen to be white. But what has happened over the years is that even though the Black and Hispanic communities felt this way about school choice, they were still very loyal to the Democratic Party. What we have seen is a bit of a shift. So when DeSantis won the first time in Florida, many people think that it was a small number of Black moms voting on the issue of choice, school choice, that put him over the edge. And so I think, what we're seeing now is that lawmakers that were able to take voters for granted because they didn't think this issue would determine how they vote, I think that is changing.
I read some of the comments by some of these parents. They are as fired up as the National Education Association's president, Becky Pringle, who closed out the union's conference last week with a speech that went viral. We're going to show some of it here. And it went viral, and some critics compared it to one from the TV show The Office, where in that speech, that particular actor used the words of an Italian fascist leader, Benito Mussolini. But this is what went viral online. This is what critics pointed out. They say educators are at the top are out of touch with everyday moms and dads, everyday Americans who are tired of the distractions when the union takes no accountability or offers solutions for the dismal state of education in this country. Do America's teachers support what is happening in the classroom right now?
Well, just anecdotally, the number of teachers sharing this video and saying things like, my dues does not pay or should not be paying for this. there's such a massive disconnect between the leadership in both of the teachers' unions, the AFT and the NEA, and their rank and file members. But I do think that over the years, it's gotten worse. And if you listen to her, she doesn't only sound like a deranged tyrant, but she never talks about student learning. She doesn't even talk about teaching. She never talks about, any sort of accountability in terms of like whether or not children are becoming literate and numerate. If you listen to her, she talks about power and she talks about wanting all the things. And this has long been, I mean, I was in the NEA in 2 states during my years as a teacher. And I can tell you that like I didn't like the organization very much back then, but this is different. Like they've really become an ideologically extreme group, and their focus on teaching and learning is essentially zero.
Great talking to you and getting your perspective with that, Erika. We certainly appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend. Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi.